Welcome to Fluid Art Journaling with me, Amy Miracle from mindfulartstudio.com. Today I'm going to be showing you a sped up version of an intuitive art journaling process using high flow acrylics. The high flows are already down, and now I'm just, when it's dry, going back to work into it with layers of pen work and paint. And it's a 2-page spread, but both pages are a little bit different in their flavor. But I've sort of decided to start on the left. I've been experimenting with tiny, tiny little X's. I really am a big believer in doing very simple things in addition to more complex things in art, because it's just so accessible, and I want you to realize that you can play in a journal and make something beautiful. It doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need a lot of special skills. And doing simple little shapes like lines or circles, X's is just a great way to do that. And you just kind of cluster them in different shapes or patterns the way that I'm doing, and it can create a lot of interest. You can see that I'm turning my book around a lot, which is something that I frequently do. It helps me to see things a little bit more clearly. It's like when you look at something too long, it's hard to really see it and really get perspective. It's a way of kind of creating a fresh perspective or a fresh set of eyes without actually walking away. I also stand back a lot. So this is something I frequently do. I'll go back and forth between layers of paint and pen work or paint pens. So this is another layer of high flow acrylic paint. I like the Golden brand. Some people mix their own, but I don't. So sometimes people ask me about that. Unfortunately, I can't really be helpful because I don't mix my own, so I don't have a good recipe to recommend. If I'm trying to work all in one sitting, you can see I'm going back now with the Micron pen. One huge tip is, unless you want to lose your pens and markers, please wait till your piece is dry, or take a hair dryer or hand dryer and dry your piece first. Because as you might imagine, wet pens and markers don't really appreciate going on wet surfaces. And I frequently don't know what's going to work. So now I'm experimenting with some darker indigo blue. Part of me is wishing at this point that I had left it more light and simple like it started, but this is the way it goes, right? You don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes it's just really about experimenting and seeing what comes up. And for me, being in my journal is really just about having a place to play. Sometimes it's about practicing, for sure, and I have like particular sketchbooks that I like to practice drawing in. But frequently when I'm going to work like this, especially with these paints in this way, where I'm just sort of dripping and letting them bleed into each other, it's really just about creating a surface onto which I can explore and express myself. On this right side page, I've been playing with kind of like root or like lightning or cracked earth type patterns. And so I'm just letting that kind of move across the page and just exploring to see what looks right. And so it's hard to tell when it's all sped up like this, but I'm actually stepping back and pausing quite a bit to look at it. I think I said this before, but this is actually probably 2 hours worth of work just in the pen work and the extra layers of paint. So, it's hard to appreciate that when you're looking at it all sped up like this. But if I had this all laid out, it would actually be like 3 or more hours of work. And I think that's another common misconception for people when they first start. They spend maybe 20 minutes on something, and then they feel really frustrated when they compare themselves to someone else. And I'm not even saying this is like my best piece of work. I mean, part of my purpose here is to show you that you can just do something simple. But even something simple requires a lot of work. And, it's just about learning to understand how long things take. So I hope that you enjoyed this little journey. And if you want to learn more about doing intuitive art and fluid art, you can go to mindfulartstudio.com/classes. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. Take care.